Well, good morning and welcome to our Redcliffe Dying to Know Day event 2025. My name is Kerry-Ann Dooley and I'll be your MC this morning. This is our second year hosting this event here in this venue, and I want to say a shout out first up to City Point for having us, to Angelica, who's our sound lady. Thank you for having us, and if Cameron is around, he's the operations pastor. Thank you for allowing us to use your beautiful facility. So Dying to Know Day, why are we here? Can I have a show of hands if you were at this event last year? So quite a few. We did have about 50 register, and I've just done a quick head count. There's 30 that have come, so we might have some stragglers. 20 other people might come in late, but thank you to those that have come again if you came last year. So Dying to Know Day is a national event. It is actually the 8th of August, so tomorrow is technically the day, but we were unable to get this venue tomorrow, so we thought we'd host it a day early. But Dying to Know Day is in its 11th year, I believe, of a national awareness program about death literacy and opening up the conversations about death, dying, palliative care, funeral planning, advanced care planning. And it was started by a lady by the name of Kerry, another Kerry. We've got 3 Kerrys here today. Her surname I've just forgotten, and she actually did it as her PhD degree. Her PhD was looking at death literacy in Australia, and she came up with this concept of a national awareness day called Dying to Know Day, and started it about 11 years ago. And so right around Australia there are events being hosted like this, Dying to Know Day events, in small cafes, in halls like this, and it's around opening up that conversation. 2 things in life are certain: death and taxes. We are all going to die, and unlike what Sam was saying, talking about it doesn't make it happen faster. Some people, when they hear you're a palliative care nurse or in the funeral business, they think it's a taboo topic, but today is about unpacking those things that are related to death and dying and the journey. And if you can prepare, all the research and evidence shows that your experience at the end of life is better if you're prepared for the end. So today we are being sponsored by Cornerstone Funerals. I'll introduce Sam in a moment, Shawplan, and MyCare Enterprises, which is the business that I run. So I am going to invite the lovely Kimberly. Here she is. Kimberly Austin is the Business Development Manager from Shawplan, and she's going to say a few words as one of our lovely sponsors. Thank you, Kimberly.
Thanks, Kerry-Ann. My name is Kimberly Austin, so I'm with Shawplan. Today, first I'd like to say thank you to Sam from Cornerstone for organising this event. It's a very important thing for us all to be thinking about and discussing, so it's wonderful to have this opportunity to sponsor. And a little bit about Shawplan. We are a friendly society, so we're a member-owned mutual fund. So we provide funeral bonds, so when you might do a pre-needs plan, the money will be secured with us, and then upon passing, the payments will be made out for the funeral director or nominee. It's a good way to secure some money aside for future planning, and our company Shawplan has been running since 1935. It originally started as a Postmaster General's organisation for their employees. So they set aside an insurance fund for their employees, so it's been running for 90 years. Our funeral bonds were introduced in 1998, and so we have been providing those since that time. We are Brisbane based, so we have an office here in Spring Hill, so we have a lovely team. You can come visit if you have any questions, or give us a call to ask any more. Have a stall here, so afterwards if you do want some more details about funeral bonds, please come have a chat to me, and grab a little show bag with all the details as well. But thank you today, and thanks again Sam for organising this. I think we'll learn a lot today. right, thanks very much, everyone.
Thank you, Kimberly. And no doubt as you came in, you would have seen our wonderful stall holders. We do invite you during the morning tea break to go and browse and chat to each of them. So in terms of format this morning, we're going to start with our expert panel. I'll give a bio of each of them and they will give a short 5-minute presentation about our particular area of expertise, and that will take about half an hour. Then we are going to break for morning tea. Thank you to the Friendly Grocer for their catering. So grab a cuppa, a sandwich or a scone or some fruit and feel free to browse the stalls. And during that time, we invite you to write a question or ask a question of our panel. So as you came in there, you would have seen the registration desk to the left. There's some paper and pens. You're very welcome to write a question down. It can be about anything. It could be addressed to a particular panellist if it's specific to an area, or if you're not sure, we can just ask the question. If there's a lot of questions on a particular topic, we might put them together in themes. That happened last year. And then we will put those questions in the second half. So I'll give you half an hour for morning tea. We don't have a bell, but I'll yell out and say, come back into the hall, and then we'll have our question and answer time. And then there'll be time at the end again if you need more time to chat with the stall holders. How does that sound? Yes? And Sam did indicate if you would like to go into the draw for a Cornerstone basket, write your name on the question. Now, I won't be reading out the names, but if you would like to go into the draw, we'll draw that at the end. So there's a little basket out there to put your questions. And in terms of facilities, if you do need bathrooms, just straight out the door and to the left. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce our first panellist. We have Andy. So Andy Coe is a palliative care nurse practitioner with over 30 years nursing experience. Andy has worked within the palliative care sector for more than 8 years. That's actually more, you've worked longer than that, for 8 years. Andy has supported hundreds of people to die in their place of choice with comfort and dignity, as well as providing support and advice to families caring for their loved ones at the end of their lives. Please put your hand together and we welcome Andy. You can either present from here or sit down, whatever you like.
Down.
You're going to sit down. Excellent. Okay, over to Andy. Thank you.
I didn't anticipate having to stand at a lectern, you say.
No, that's fine.
I have to just get on with dignity. So my name's Andy and I'm a palliative care nurse practitioner, as Kerry said. I currently work in a statewide role, so we support, with my current employer, we support people who'd like to die, mainly people who'd like to die at home, in the regions and in very rural areas. And so we provide nursing support for them to do that with comfort and dignity. And so we look at where people would like to die and try our very best to make that happen. But palliative care as a specialty is actually, it's a fairly new specialty. When I say fairly new, like 10 to 15 years, but when you think of something like oncology, which is cancer care, or medicine or surgery, so palliative care is actually really quite new compared to all of those specialties. And what we do in palliative care, so people are sometimes really scared to get referred to palliative care because they think, oh my goodness, I'm going to die. Yes, that's true, you are going to die, but actually we're going to help you to live really, really well before you get to the point where you're dying. And then when you're dying, we're going to help you to die well as well. What that means is, so people who have got a life-limiting condition, and in adults, that is mainly a cancer, but not always. It can be neurological, like motor neuron disease, or sometimes something like MS. If you've got a life-limiting condition, ask, or you will be referred to a palliative care team who will work alongside your specialists and give them some advice and some support about symptoms that you might be experiencing. And as you then approach what we call the end-of-life phase, and then those other specialists tend to take a little bit of a step back, and palliative care really comes to the forefront and helps manage symptoms. What we also do is talk to you guys about, or talk to our patients about, what do you actually want? If you have a cancer diagnosis, do you actually want to be resuscitated in a hospital? If you have a collapse, would you like to be in ICU? And if you do, that's totally fine. We'll help with that. Or would you like to have what we call comfort cares, where you've got, you might want treatment, for example, for if you've got a urine infection, but you might not want to have IV antibiotics. You might just want to have oral antibiotics. All of those things we talk to people about. We also support with advanced health directives and advanced care planning, so that you can have things written down. And there's amazing, wonderful people here that you'll also be able to support. And then we support with how you die and how you die well. A big part of our role is supporting families, because we know we ask a lot, and it's really difficult to care for somebody who you really love, who's dying. But we will walk alongside you, and that's what we say in palliative care, is we meet the patient where they're at and we walk alongside them with this journey. It's not about taking over and making decisions, it's about being really supportive. I'm just going to have a look at my notes and see if I've missed anything, because I tend to waffle. And Kerry-Ann, will you just let me know when I've done my 5 minutes? Very good, very good. So in my role, I've cared for people across the lifespan. So little babies who are born premature, and their families decide that they want to do a redirection of care. We never say that we withdraw care, we redirect care. And we give them support in our children's hospice or in the community or across the state. And then I've cared for people all the way up to 104, I think, is my personally oldest patient. And it's not all about medication. So it is often about medication, especially towards end of life, and what you might need and how we can support you with getting that, and so that you don't run out and so you're very comfortable. But it's also about what's actually really important to you. Who do you want to be with you? When people reflect on their lives, 100%, I would say, and I can say this with confidence, say that what they want is to spend more time with people that they love. And that might be family, birth family, blood relations, or it might be people who are really important to them. So for example, with me, I'm from England, if you can't tell, and I don't actually have any blood relations here apart from my children and my husband, but I have friends who are really important. And we recognise that friends, neighbours, the people in the school communities, the people in the shops, the pharmacists, they all could be really important to you guys. And so we work with you as a person to work out what's important to you. I think that's probably everything I've got to say, because I'm very open to questions at the end, and I don't want to go too specific, because it's not about diseases, or it's just really about what's important to you and how we can support you in doing that. But what I want to say, that I think the key takeout is, don't be afraid of the word palliative care, because it's about living really, really well and supporting you when you're coming towards the end of your life. It doesn't mean that people have given up on you, and you can still have active treatment. If you have something like a cancer, you can still be having chemotherapy, etc., and still be referred to palliative care. There's really great palliative care services in Redcliffe and in Moreton Bay and in Brisbane. So we're really lucky to live where we live, I think. Great palliative care services across the state, but yeah, it's sometimes trickier.
Thank you, Andy. If you want to just hold on to the microphone. Andy is very humble. She has worked across paediatric palliative care for probably the majority of your career, and then has now been in the adult palliative care space in a statewide service. So we're very grateful to have you join us today, Andy, and thank you for those words. I do want to acknowledge Karuna are here. We've got social worker Teresa here. Gompo, spiritual care director from Karuna, and another social worker as well. So thank you for joining us. We are very lucky across Metro North to have Karuna as a specialist palliative care provider, as well as Metro North Community Care. And so if there's any other from Queensland Health here, we recognise you as well. So our next speaker is Kerry Mendel. Kerry is a specialist lifestyle and care financial advisor who's dedicated to working with families to help them or a loved one transition into aged care or retirement living. Finding the right solution for an individual, couple or family member requires clear and considered advice, and Kerry is focused on explaining all the financial options available to ensure clients and their families make the best possible choice for their circumstance. Whether you're looking to move into aged care or retirement living, Kerry can help guide you through what is often a very complex process. She can take care of the whole process with providers and government agencies to provide you with the peace of mind that everything is being considered and managed to make the transition as smooth as possible. So welcome, Kerry. I do also want to acknowledge today is Aged Care Employee Day. So another national day. If you work in particularly community or residential aged care, I acknowledge you today. Over to you, Kerry. Thank you.
Thank you, Kerry-Ann. Financial advisors talking at this event. Ooh. So I'm not going to be talking about babies. I'm not talking about your spiritual life. I'm not talking about anything medical. I'm here to help you understand the practical matters. And when I first started as a financial advisor in the 90s, now I'm making myself feel really old, I really didn't appreciate lawyers. Now, lawyers are my best friends. I'm like, oh my God, this is a whole new world. So I'm going to be talking about legal matters and how things can get really messed up if you don't pay attention to some of the practical matters. I'm going to be talking about Centrelink, Services Australia, DVA. I've got on speed dial a lot of the social workers because they get into the pointy end of things and realise, oh, we can't get what this person needs because they haven't got the right arrangements in place. So I'm the practical person on the panel. Everyone else is talking about super important stuff. I'm just here about the really annoying things that are necessary for life. I want to tell you about Paul. So Paul and I had a chat last week, and we've known each other for quite a few years. So he's not a client of mine, but we understand each other's work and what we're doing. And he said to me, it's his mum and dad. His dad has got Parkinson's, and he's had that for quite a few years. And at first it wasn't really much of a problem. And now his Parkinson's has started getting into that stage where he's needing more support, and he needs to face the fact that it's not going to get better. And he said, Dad, I think it's time that we start talking about residential aged care. And he said, nope, not talking about nursing homes, not going there. I went, okay. So he turned to his mum and he said, well, I guess it's going to be you and me that need to make these decisions. His dad said, what? No, I want to be involved in this. And he said, well, you know what, when it gets to that point, you're not going to be able to make those decisions. Because by the time he's actually progressed to the point that he actually does need residential care, it's going to be his enduring powers of attorney that get to make those decisions. Where is he going to be? Is he going to be in a big room? Is he going to be in a little room? Is it going to be the place where he can still see his mates? Are his friends going to be coming and seeing him? Does he like the food? Does he like the aspect? Can he bring up his little dog? All the things that are meaningful to him, that give his life meaning, it's going to be out of his control. He said, well, Dad, you can have control. You can make these decisions. So that's what I want you to know, that you can actually take control back. It's being aware of these are the practical matters that we need to know and planning for that. And that's where it's like, oh, hang on, now lawyers are our best friends. The reason why I was talking about Paul and his mum is that his dad had actually said, you're the ones that I want you to make decisions. I get to see a lot of enduring powers of attorney who are now forced into making decisions, and they are saying, well, I don't actually know what they want. Or I've got enduring powers of attorney who don't agree. Or I've got enduring powers of attorney and like, we want what's best for mum and what's best for mum. I've got one son who said, I want her to go into the fancy nursing home and sell the house and get rid of that. I've got the other son who's like, no, we moved in to take care of mum. She wants to come home and see her garden. What's best for her is that she actually goes to the aged care home that's down the road. It's not the fancy one, but we want her to be able to be here and she can come home, see her garden, and that's what's important. So when you've got two people that don't agree, that makes it hard. Or the stories where there have been estranged family members and they just haven't planned for that. I've got so many stories to share with you, so please do ask questions and we can start unpacking that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kerry. You've all been very compliant with the 5 minutes. Usually we say 5 minutes, which is kind of code for 6 or 7, but thank you for sticking to the time limit. I think you'd agree that at end of life or as you're planning, there are many different aspects of life. And whilst you might think that financial planning and enduring powers of attorney is boring, it's actually really critical. And so please don't undervalue the importance of what you do, Kerry. So thank you. All right, our next speaker is the Reverend Paul Clark. And Paul, I forgot to print your bio, so I just quickly downloaded it. So Paul Clark is the Acting Dean of Formation at Trinity College, Queensland. He trains Uniting Church ministers. He's the former lead minister at Redcliffe Uniting Church and has over 20 years' experience as a pastor, including officiating at over 300 funerals. He is an expert communicator, having been on the radio for over a decade as the At the Top guy, if you listen to 96.5, and having authored 20 books. He's married with 2 adult children. And it's a great privilege to have you here, Paul. I did ask Paul to join us last year and he was unavailable. So back by popular demand, you're here in 2025. And I've invited Paul to talk about loss and grief associated with the palliative care and death and dying process, and also about spirituality. Because as we approach the end of life, many people do ask the big existential questions about what is life, my meaning, my value, the things that connect you to your family, and is there things beyond the grave? And so I've invited Paul to address some of those topics. Thank you, Paul.
Excellent, and I might go behind the pulpit, which could be a scary... I'll take the extra time. Yeah, I've actually got a timer here. It's really great to be here, and these really are really important events. I actually, if you follow me on Facebook, I happen to, and it was by chance, I do a reel. It's one of my At the Top spots every week, and the one that came up today was actually on grief. And I thought, wow, that's amazing timing. And I was at a grief workshop with someone, and they had lost their husband, and we were just talking about funerals, and she said, a funeral is a great distraction from the agony of grief. In that in Western culture, we're not very good at grief. We sort of just think, we'll just do it all on the funeral and that'll be it. But if you've lost someone who's special to you, you know that grief just hits you like a freight train, and it's not something that goes away after the funeral. You live with it, the agony, etc. And so these events are very healthy for our society because we do push it away. We don't want to talk about it. And I'm glad that we've got the sort of the medical side, the financial side, and so I'm that spiritual side. Because when we do face grief, when we face death, it's often the existential stuff that does create the angst in our life. And so in some ways, I want to give you all permission to say it's okay to ask those questions and to see how do I face those questions? How do I make my peace with the world that I've got? And so that might be even working out, well, who do I need in my corner to ask those questions? Some of you might say, well, I'm connected to a spiritual community, and so I know who that person is. Sometimes we're not well connected to a spiritual community, and it might be something to say, I'm not saying you have to go to church or temple or whatever every week from now on, but sometimes it is going, okay, am I going to take this seriously? You might think, well, that's not something in my life, but I know when it comes to the end, sometimes it is, okay, how am I going to make my peace in this? I know visiting people who are in the palliative care stage, I often can sense they want to ask the question. There's sort of these questions they just want to ask. Having a minister walk in or another kind of religious leader, it gives them permission to ask that question, but it also means if I go in and just visiting a friend and I'm Tom Smith, if I ask, oh, have you made your peace with God? It feels really strange. But if I come in as a minister, people actually expect it of me. Have you made your peace? And if people say, yes, I have, that's fine. I don't push them if they haven't. Sometimes it's also the peace that you need to make. There's estranged relationships. And a lot of people think, I want to get some things off my chest. I want to be able to give my apologies or whatever it is. And so thinking about those existential questions. And I'll talk a little bit more about grief because, like I said, grief is one of those just profound things. I have a mother who lives in Melbourne who I only talk to, I talked to her a little bit more recently, but, I used to maybe talk to her every month, etc. And if I looked at it really logically, if my mum died, my life wouldn't actually change very much. As in, there would be that conversation I don't have every now and then and the holidays. Yet I know, even when you live a long way away and you're not very engaged, when someone that you are related to passes away, someone you've had a connection to, it just undoes you completely. And you don't know how to cope with it. Two years ago, my mum was diagnosed with cancer. That she went into hospital and the doctor said, you might not make the end of the week. That's how bad she was. She'd missed all her symptoms. By the time she got there, she was in trouble. They treated her. She actually was given palliative, but she made this miraculous recovery, which I was preparing her funeral, as in I didn't think she'd make Christmas, and she had an amazing recovery. She's still living with cancer, and it will eventually get her. But suddenly I was confronted with the reality of my mum's not going to be around anymore and what that grief meant. Aha, there's my timer. The Uniting Church, who I work for, Uniting Care, Blue Care are part of our services. They actually run grief programs, and that's the program that I was sitting in when I was talking to someone. And Redcliffe Uniting, I'm pretty sure, runs the program. I don't work there anymore. So if you are here because someone else that you know is facing that, often you need somewhere to go and you need people to talk with. And again, we live in the denial of, I don't want to, I can deal with this, I'll be okay. But it's really good. They have, I think it's an 8-week course where you just sit with others who are grieving and you work through that. And I think that's a really good program. Look for Blue Care, grief. I want to tell you one story because I love this story to finish with, because it does show how we even change in life. I happened to read Bono's autobiography fairly recently, the prophet Bono from U2. And he talks about meeting Frank Sinatra. And you can imagine for Bono, meeting Frank Sinatra is a big deal. And he remembered hearing him sing that famous song, My Way. And we do get that song at funerals. I did it my way. When Frank first recorded that song in 1969, Bono says, he sang it full of bravado. It was kind of an up yours to the establishment and maybe even to God. You know, I'm an independent, ruggedly independent man. I'm going to do it my way. But Bono said he listened to Frank sing this song now at the age of 79, and he was amazed because Frank sang the same words, the same arrangement, but he'd completely changed how that song came across. What had been a boast at 54 became an apology at 79. Bono heard this on a recording and had to go and find out what was going on. And Bono says he saw the genius of Sinatra in that. Sinatra had come to loathe that song. It was the song that kind of made him famous, and wherever he went, people wanted him to sing, "I Did It My Way." So he actually hated singing it. And when he was 79, someone else said, "Let's do a duet of it. Let's sing it one last time." And that's when Frank sang it completely different. Bono says, where once he was a man standing before his God singing in defiance, now he was an older, wiser man singing before his God in defeat. He sang it as a confession, sort of like, okay, Lord, I did it my way. That's all I could do. I had to make life meet, but I throw myself on you now. Is there any other way to meet our God at the final curtain, says Bono, than with honesty and humility? To tell it straight, to say, this is how I've lived, God, but I throw myself on you. And I just think we all are on that sort of journey to say, okay, when it comes to the end, maybe it is about going, okay, I've lived who I am, but I need to be ready for what's next. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. We've given you liberty going over the 5 minutes. The 1 or 2 minutes that Andy and Kerry didn't use, you got those ones. Thank you. Our final expert panellist is Sam Major, and Sam is the General Manager at Cornerstone Funerals. With over 10 years of experience in the funeral industry, Sam has truly done it all, from late night transfers to creating meaningful photo tributes. Holding a degree in business management, Sam's journey into the funeral world began at a chance meeting with a local businessman. That encounter has led him to create Cornerstone Funerals, a company built on the vision of providing genuine comfort to families, all while remaining proudly locally owned and operated. Please welcome Sam Major. Thanks, Sam.
Thank you, Kerry-Ann. How's everyone going? Good? I see we're talking a lot. It's good to get a bit of feedback. So like Kerry-Ann said, this is my 10th year in the funeral industry. Going into it, it was actually really just, I needed a job. It wasn't actually something that I was like, you know what, growing up, I'm like, I want to be a funeral director. I want to look after dead people. And it's, so I sort of fell into it where I needed a job, and my cousin was doing photo presentations for a local funeral home, and he said, it's easy, man. You just stand at the front of a chapel and point at a book. So I was like, I can do that. And so my wife was happy. I'd got myself into a job, and very quickly I realised that actually I'm very good with these families who are struggling with the emotions of everything, and quickly got trained up to be a funeral arranger. So it was less pointing at a book and more talking with the families and organising everything. So I learnt my trade there, and then that company actually sold to a big corporation, and it went sort of in a different direction to what I was used to and what I wanted to see it go. And I think the straw that broke the camel's back for me was when I'd met with a family, had spent about 2 hours with them going through all of their process, going through the photo album with them and everything, and was told by the GM that if I'm taking more than an hour, I'm wasting company time. And it was at that point I was like, okay, that's not right. So, like Kerry-Ann said, there was a chance meeting with a local businessman. I got my degree in business and also in marketing, and he had a local restaurant and needed some help. And one day he just said to me, when I told him what had happened, he said, well, would you like to run your own funeral home? And I said, well, yeah, I would. And so, so that chance meeting ended up with Cornerstone Funerals being established. So we sort of started in 2021 and we've been growing ever since. I was just saying to Carrie Ann before that already this year we've exceeded last year's families that we've looked after, which is great to see that people are choosing to go with the local company. So with 10 years of experience, I've seen it all from families who do a direct cremation, they don't want anything to do with it, it's just out of sight, out of mind, all the way through to we did the funeral for the young footballer that passed away in Barcelona. We did it in the stadium here in Redcliffe. So I've seen both ends of the spectrum, and from what I've learnt in those 10 years is that there's really no right or wrong way to do a funeral. The main thing is that you consider the one that's passed, and you consider yourself, I think, is a big one. What people don't realise is that, yes, the funeral is about the person who has passed away, but the value and the importance of it is actually in those who are celebrating the life of the person who's passed. And that seems to be missed a lot, that people will consider the plans of the person who's passed, but at the same time not actually think of themselves. And we do find that people will see a funeral as a Band-Aid, that, you know, I go, do the funeral, rip that Band-Aid off, and then I'm back to life and it's all good and happy. It can be an absolute process, and so part of what we're doing at Cornerstone is going beyond just looking after the funeral service, but it's actually the aftercare. So I've got the lovely Leah who has been working with me, is studying her grief counselling so that we can provide that after service, and we're doing aftercare packs that just give a bit of guidance to allow the people who are left behind to start that process on the grief journey. That I think it was explained that grief is like a box, and inside there's a button, and that button is really painful when it's pressed, and that there's a little ball inside that as you continue with your life moving around, the ball will eventually, every now and again, will hit that button, and you'll feel that ache of that loss. There was a lady who lost her husband in 9/11, and I was watching a documentary on it, and she said, you know, it's funny, my husband who was in 9/11, who passed away, would always leave the toilet seat up every single time, and I used to rage at him and complain every single time. And now when she goes to the bathroom, the toilet seat's down, there's that little bit of pain that she remembers that about him. Even though it was a sticking point, it was still something that reminds her, and sometimes our grief can be like that. So last year we talked about, and we've actually done it, is creating a book which is called the I Care Grief Journal. And that I Care Grief Journal is a colouring in book, super simple device that has prompts that sort of helps you on that grief journey. And so we introduced that because we obviously talk with a lot of nursing homes and palliative care staff, and the hard thing for them is that they're connecting with families and with people that they lose a lot more than a regular person would. So we have a number of connections in our life, but they have so many more that are usually at that end stage, and they experience grief and loss. So we've created this book as a very simple device that just sort of starts that conversation and starts them on that grief journey. And we're putting that in our aftercare packs for families as well. So thank you so much for coming today. We're going to be having our morning tea shortly. And like Carrie Ann said, there is a chance to write your questions. There's no such thing as a stupid question. Probably the only stupid question is one you don't ask. So I'd encourage you, and if you do want to put your name on the questionnaire, we won't read that out obviously, but we do have a box which has a lot of confectionery in it, because Tom's Confectionery Warehouse has donated this box of goodies. So anyone who puts a question in today will go into the raffle at the end of the event, and we'll draw that. So thank you.
Thank you, Sam. I do want to acknowledge our stall holders. So today we have Wellways. Where is our lovely Wellways? Sorry, remind me your first name. Kathy from Wellways, thank you for joining us. We have Elle from Davida, give us a wave. Thank you, the lovely Elle. We have Final Touch, and your first name? Jenny from Final Touch, thank you. Obviously Cornerstone Funerals, Kerry Tully from Vitalife Legacy. We've got 3 Kerrys today, Kerry Tully, Kelly Mendel and Carrie Ann. Ladybird Wills and Estates. Amy, thank you for joining us. And we have the beautiful Rudo from Everlight Stories. Give us a wave, Rudo. So these lovely stall holders have got some information. Please take some time over morning tea to have a chat to them. Also, please do ask your questions. And just as a sponsor from MyCare Enterprises, I'm wearing 2 hats today. So some of you may know that I am the state member for Redcliffe, but I'm here today as the founder and director of MyCare Enterprises, which is a private in-home nursing service that I started in 2021 after being a palliative care registered nurse for over 30 years, working particularly in community services. I found there was a gap for that overnight palliative care. And for people who wanted to die at home, they either didn't feel confident or didn't want to be able to provide that overnight support, or they might need a nurse for longer time during the day. So we started in 2021 and we've helped over 100 people to die at home in the comfort of their own home, and some of that service has been providing 24/7 registered nursing support. And I have an amazing team, and I've got Kathy and Kathleen here. Give us a wave down the front. So now I'm busy as a state member for Redcliffe. Kathy and Kathleen manage the business for me. But we've got a team of 15 nurses, and we do provide that extended in-home palliative care, but also general nursing as well. So if you've got any questions in that space, feel free to chat to Kathy and Kathleen. So we are going to break now for morning tea. Given that we're a little over, we'll go to about 11:05 and then I'll call you back in. How does that sound? Hello.